Hello, friends. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Glenn Turndrup. I'm a whitewater kayaking enthusiast and a yoga teacher. So I decided to put together a yoga flow for paddlers. I started doing yoga about 13 years ago. It was not on my radar. Went through a particularly stressful time, and I heard that yoga was really good for reducing stress. And in about 3 weeks after doing yoga, I noticed a big change. Eventually, I decided to get trained as a yoga teacher. So I think it's a perfect pairing with whitewater kayaking because yoga's been shown to improve mental focus. So you go where you want to go on the river, not where you don't want to go. It improves core strength. So when you're paddling, you can make those moves, you can roll your kayak, do whatever you need to do to be successful on the river. Of course, it also improves flexibility, and then finally, yoga is really good for reducing stress. And that's all about the breathing technique, which I will go over in this particular session. So I think it's a really good pairing with whitewater kayaking. And ironically, also, if you work at a desk a lot, working at a computer, it's probably going to be good for you as well because some of the same muscles are contracted, whether you're kayak seated in a kayak or you're at a desk or kind of oriented forward. Some of the same muscles are contracted along the front of the body and stretched along the back of the body. So a few years ago, I read a book called Yoga for Paddling by Anna Levesque. Anna Levesque is a whitewater kayaking instructor, former freestyle world champion. She's a yoga instructor, and she teamed up with a physical therapist. So this book is really well done. I'm going to be resourcing it. I'm going to be using it throughout this video. And if you want a more in-depth understanding of the poses, she's done a really good job. So shout out to Anna Levesque. Check out her book. So Anna makes a really good point, which I'm going to incorporate into this yoga flow. She said a lot of times she sees kayakers doing stretches, and she suspects that they're probably stretching irritated muscles that don't need to be stretched. Like if you've ever done this stretch, you got issues with your shoulders. She makes the point that in kayaking, a lot of times the muscles on the front side of the body, like the pecs, and the hip flexors are overly contracted. And it's the muscles along the back that are actually overstretched and irritated. So her point is we need to stretch some of these muscles in the front, but strengthen the muscles in the back. And by stretching ones that are contracted and strengthening ones that are overstretched and irritated, we bring the joints into alignment and we reduce some of those trigger points. So that's what we're going to do in this yoga flow. I've had back issues since my 30s, and I can say that yoga has greatly improved my lower back. But that being said, I have tweaked my back doing yoga poses. So I would encourage you to check in with your doctor or your physical therapist and make sure that yoga is right for you. I think even a physical therapist is going to tell you which particular poses are good for you and which poses are not good for you. So please check in with a professional. I kind of packed everything into this video. I thought I'd give you everything. And so I encourage you to watch it all the way through. Part one is going to be the breathing technique of yoga. And then I'm going to go to the mat for a spinal warm up. Then we do a little bit of core work down on the mat. Then we do some standing postures, which are going to work core strength, flexibility, balance. We do a little bit of pure balance and then go back down to the mat to stretch. So I encourage you to watch it all the way through and pick and choose what works for you. Listen to your body. But that being said, it is pretty long. So I put some title slides in. So if you want to skip around to the parts that are most important to you, you can do that as well. I've also included some references at the end if you're interested in the science of yoga, what it's been shown to accomplish. So I happen to be a biology teacher, so I find the science really interesting and compelling, and understanding the science helps me to apply yoga in a way that suits me the best. So you can check that. You can check those links out at the end of the video. So friends, let's do this. Yoga for paddlers or yoga for people that spend a lot of time at a desk working at a computer. So in this section, we'll cover the powerful effects of breathing on our autonomic nervous system. So the yogis figured out 2,500 years ago that the way you breathe affects your nervous system. You can biohack into your nervous system. And I think we pretty much know that when we hyperventilate, we get anxious. When we breathe deeply, we calm down. So a lot of times people mouth breathe. So when you breathe in through your mouth, your breath cycle tends to be short. So if you experiment with this, if you're like me, take a breath through your mouth. Your breath cycle, inhale, exhale is probably about 4 seconds. So what we want to do is we want to increase the length of the breath cycle 8 to 10 seconds. When I went through my yoga training, I was doing breath work with a polar watch on, and I was watching my pulse, and I was like, what's going on? On my inhale, my pulse would rise with the deep breathing, and on my exhale, it would drop. It turns out that's called heart rate variability. And the cool thing that's happening on the inhale, your flight or fight is kicking in and causing your pulse to rise because when you do a deep breath, it drops your blood pressure and your body's like, what's going on? On the exhale, your blood pressure returns to normal and the parasympathetic system, rest or digest, has to come in and counteract what the sympathetic system did. So basically, when you do deep breathing between the inhale and the exhale, you have this dynamic dance between the two systems. And basically, you're training your nervous system to go in and out of stress, which is great because stress enables us to get things done, right? Like paddling through that rapid, but we want to transition out of that stress. And that's what deep breathing does. It takes us in and out of stress over and over again. And so there's a measure for that. It's called heart rate variability, and it's considered one of the best measures of your health and predictability of longevity. So you can train, you can improve your heart rate variability just through deep breathing. So let's try it. Instead of mouth breathing and doing 4 second inhale, exhale, we want to shoot for 8 to 10 seconds, okay? So if you're new to this, it's going to feel unnatural. There's a little bit of training involved, so that's totally understandable. I like to teach it this way. So squeeze all the air out of your lungs, tighten up those abs, let the belly come out, and inhale through your nose. And then you got a little bit of air left up in the upper lungs, so ribs rise and expand. And then slowly exhale, either by pursing the lips or exhaling slowly through the nose. Squeeze it all out, belly comes out, ribs rise and expand. Slowly exhale. Let's try 8 seconds. Okay, so that's deep diaphragmatic breathing. You can also increase that exhale to 6 seconds, and it has even more of a calming effect. The longer the exhale, the more calming it is. If you really want to calm yourself down, I learned this from the Huberman podcast. Check it out. You can do the physiological breath, the physiological sigh. You've seen people do this when they're crying, and then all of a sudden they'll go and take a breath. That's the body's way of calming you down. So, what it looks like is a quick inhale, which inflates the air sacs, followed by fully inflating the lung. Slow exhale. Second time, quick inhale followed by long inhale, slow exhale. Just 3 times. Quick inhale, followed by long inhale, slow exhale. Physiological sigh, one of the most scientifically proven ways to bring yourself down. So keep that in your toolkit. Throughout the yoga sequence today, I'm going to be emphasizing that deep breathing. And, it might be a little bit much to try doing the poses if you're new to those at the same time that you're doing the breathing. So if you can maintain those long breaths, it's super cool because not only are you working the muscles, you're actually training your autonomic nervous system to transition in and out of stress. Okay, so let's do it. Let's go to part 2. Let's go down to the mat and warm up. Okay, folks, it would be helpful to have a yoga mat, but if you don't, you can always do yoga on the carpet. Also, depending on how flexible you are, you might need some blocks, or you could just substitute a big, thick book. I'll be doing one pose with a strap. You could probably use a regular belt if you wanted to, or maybe a towel, but you don't have to have that. Just remember, yoga is not a competition. It's actually yoga means to yoke. So we're going to try to yoke mind to body, listen to our body, tune in to the wisdom that our body has to offer us. So we're going to start in an easy seat. So let's try to have a nice upright spine. If you want to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. Let's tap into that deep breath, 8 to 10 seconds. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose or mouth. All right. So yoga is not a competition. We'll listen to our body, make this a positive experience. I'm going to start with a little easy seat twist. I'm going to inhale, lift the arms. I want to create length in the spine whenever we twist. I'm going to bring my right hand to my left knee. Exhale as I look over my left shoulder. Inhale up and twist right. All right, I'm going to come back to a neutral position. Do a little neck stretch here. So I'm going to inhale, walk my eyes along the ceiling. Exhale, bring my chin to my chest and repeat. Coming back to that neutral position, we'll take left ear to left shoulder and pendulum right ear to right shoulder and repeat. One more time. Okay, coming up back up to neutral. I'm going to roll on my upper back. If you have lower back problems, if you start with your back on the mat, it's a pretty safe way to begin your yoga practice and protect your lower back. So we're going to start with a little windshield wiper action of the legs here. So I'm going to bring the soles of my feet to the mat, hip width apart. And I'm just going to let the knees fall one way and then the other, just loosening up the pelvis. We can keep that breath long. Okay, I'm going to take that left leg long on the mat. You can bend that left knee and put the sole of the foot to the mat if you like. We're going to work on the hamstrings, which tend to be chronically contracted in kayakers. I'm going to flex my foot here. I'm going to interlace my fingers behind my knee or use a strap, your choice. I'm going to keep a little bend in the knee and just work that hamstring. At the same time, if you want, pull on those straps till you feel your shoulder blades come together. We'll work those rhomboids, which tend to be overstretched. Serratus anterior. You can lift the head, work the abs, or lay that head and torso down. Your choice. But we can do two things here. Work that hamstring and then strengthen the back of the shoulders. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that strap in one hand and let that leg come out to the side. You can always have a nice generous bend in that knee, no worries. All right. Right foot meets left. We'll switch that out. Bring the left foot up. Put a little bend in that knee. Work the hamstring. Again, if you want to work the back of the shoulders, Pull those shoulder blades together with your head up if you want to work the abs, or lie that head down. Check in with the breath. And put a little bend in that knee. Take that leg out to the side. And the left foot meets right. All right. And let's do a little knee hug. So draw those knees into the chest. And I'm going to roll elbow to elbow and try to focus on that lower back as you do that. We're just massaging that lower back, warming it up in a real protected position here. Okay, we're going to do a little bridge pose, which is great for kayaking. So it's going to stretch the hip flexors, which tend to be over contracted in kayakers. We're going to work the glutes, which tend to be sleepy in kayakers. We're also going to stretch the pecs, which are overly contracted. So feet hip width apart. I'm going to try to keep my knees parallel. I'm going to lift the hips. If possible, you can put your palms down, or if you want a little more stretch through the pecs, interlace those fingers. I'm going to roll to one shoulder, draw the other shoulder in tighter. So I create a little more lift here. I'm going to keep the spine long. I'm drawing the knees forward, keep length in my spine. Lift those hips, feel the stretch in the front of the hips. I'm going to try to give you several levels of difficulty here. So if you need a little more difficulty, inhale that right leg up and drop the hips as I release the fingers out from under me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch it out. And again, this is just your level of difficulty, whatever works for you. Big inhale, try to coordinate breath with movement. Keep that breath long. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left foot meets right. Let's get a little more stretch going on. So stretching the pecs, stretching the hip flexors, and go ahead and release to the mat. Draw the knees into the chest. Roll elbow to elbow. All right. I'm going to roll a little bit on my upper back. No pressure on my neck here. I'm going to come up to staff pose. I'm going to slowly lower and work those abs and hip flexors. So I slowly lower to the mat. Okay, coming into Dandasana, seated staff pose. Great one for kayakers. So as we get into our kayaks, take the flesh away from your sits bones. So nice way of saying spread your butt cheeks there. Feel those sits bones. It's real easy to sit back on the sacrum, that round part. We compress our discs when we do that. So we sit in our kayaks, we can do that. Just a little reminder, bringing that back belt, that back band in tight. I'm going to take my palms, press into the mat just behind my hips, draw my shoulder blades together. So I'm stretching the pecs again. I'm going to use those quads and pull the heels up off the mat as I flex the feet. Great kayaking pose here. Checking with that breath, keeping the breath long. Okay. From here, I'm going to cross my legs, roll over my knees. Come to child's pose. Come to the back of my mat here. Knees are wide, big toes come together. Sit back over the heels. Reach those arms forward. Forehead massages the mat. I like to rock back and forth, right and left here. Still working on that pelvis, loosening everything up. Checking with the breath. So the breath is really the magic bullet as far as why yoga is such a calming practice. Okay, we're going to lift up, take the right hand over to meet the left. And then I want you to press that right forearm into the mat. You'll feel a stretch under your right shoulder. You're stretching the lat, the right lat, which tends to be really contracted in kayakers. All right, we'll lift up, take both hands to the right side, press that left forearm into the mat. Okay, we're going to take our hands to the original position, lift our hips into extended puppy pose, drop those forearms to the earth. If you want a little intense stretch through the back of the shoulders, come to your fingertips here. You'll feel that where your shoulder blades are. Okay, we're going to walk those hands back and curl the toes. If that's uncomfortable for you to curl your toes here, you can come to the tops of those feet. So your choice. We're going to do a little wrist stretch here. So I'm just going to make figure eights with my wrist. Stretch those toes at the same time. Then I'm going to come down to all fours here. This is tabletop pose, stacking shoulder over wrist, hip over knees. And we'll do a little more wrist stretch here. I'm going to point the fingers back toward my knees here. So we'll stretch the wrists and forearms. Maybe you rock a little bit. Again, tune into your body. Don't do anything that really hurts. Then we'll bring the tops of the hands to the mat, fingers facing in, and clench the fingers. So as you go through this, just note which poses seem to really work for you, what seems to really help your body. Okay, we'll come back to that tabletop position. And at this point, we're going to do some shoulder blade push-ups. So go ahead and change the camera angle here. So shoulder blade push-ups are going to help with shoulder blade mobility and also the strength of these upper shoulder muscles. So all I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to let my shoulder retract the shoulder blades. So bring them together, almost like you're pinching those shoulder blades. And then I'm going to push through the palms and widen through the upper back, widen through the shoulders. Shoulder blades come apart, shoulder blades come together. Apart, together. Just keep repeating that. Now what we're going to do in the next pose, we're going to incorporate this shoulder mobility exercise within our cows and cats. Okay? Okay, now cow and cat to warm up the spine up and down. So I'm going to inhale, tuck the toes, lift the gaze, shoulder blades come together. Exhale, flatten out the feet, press through the palms, arch the back, cat pose. On my exhale, draw the navel and the spine. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Keep that breath long. Work the nervous system. Coordinate breath with movement. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. A couple more. And we'll come back to our neutral position. Next, we're going to take the spine side to side. So I'm going to look to that right foot and then take it across the other way. Look to the left foot, just back and forth. Keep that breath long. And then from here, we're going to just do some whole hip circles, loosen everything up. Switch directions. Coming back to our neutral tabletop. One more direction we can take the spine is actually twist it. This is a great twist because we don't have any downward pressure on the spine. So we're going to inhale that right arm up. Find your stretch point through the back of that shoulder. Exhale. Thread that right arm underneath. Bring your right ear to the mat. Thread the needle. Okay, we'll bring that right hand back to the previous position. Inhale the left arm up, feel the stretch, thread it on through. So as we go through these poses, just note which ones work for you. Back to our tabletop. Okay, we're going to begin to warm up the shoulders here. So I'm going to inhale and come to plank. So plank in yoga, my elbow creases are actually facing forwards, not like a push-up position. My arms are in close by my sides, about shoulder width apart. So I'm inhale plank. Notice I'm not up like that, and I'm not allowing the back to sag. So my core engaged. Take a big inhale. Hover the knees. Exhale, down dog. And repeat. Inhale plank. Exhale, hover. Fully exhale. Inhale plank. Hover. And exhale, down dog. One more. And then we're going to slowly lower to the earth. You can put your knees down if you need to, or if you want to work that tricep strain, just slowly lower without the knees down. Okay, at this point, we're going to work the back core. Now, this is really critical because in kayakers, as I said before, the muscles in the front tend to be overly contracted because we're oriented forward. Muscles in the back tend to be overstretched and weak. So these are some critical poses. Okay, we're going to start with baby cobras. So I'm going to bring my palms under my shoulders, elbows close by my sides. I'm pressing into the tops of my feet, particularly the pinky toes, so rotating the thighs inward. Inhale, lift the torso and head without straining the neck. Exhale down. Take it up and down. Warming up that lower back again. Now we're going to take the arms wide, come to our fingertips. So we got some wide arm cobra poses here. Again, I'm pressing in through the tops of my feet, particularly the pinky toes. I'm going to inhale myself up. Now I'm going to dip that left shoulder to the mat and exhale to my right. Come back to neutral. Dip the right shoulder, look, exhale left. And repeat. And slowly lower to the mat. Now, take your arms, bring your right palm over your left hand, and let's do a little deep belly breathing here and see. This is crocodile pose, and it's a great way to see if you're doing belly breathing. So as you inhale, see if you can feel your belly press into the mat. If you feel the belly actually lightening, it's because you're doing chest breathing. So what you want to try to do is let the belly come out first, and then chest breathe. Belly comes out, chest breathe. So the belly coming out is the first part, and then the chest breath. All right. Next, we're going to do a little locust pose. So this one is really great for kayakers. Working the core strength of the back. I'm going to bring my arms by my sides, palms facing down. I'm going to inhale, lift my feet, lift my legs, lift my torso, my head without straining my neck. Keep the breath long. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the cheek to the mat. Now the next time you can repeat the same thing, or if you want a little more challenge, take those arms forward, inhale yourself up. Breath is long. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax to the mat. Last back bend is a back bend yogi's choice. You can do one of the other ones we did previously, or if you really want to stretch the front body, you can do bow pose. So reach back, grab those ankles, flex those legs, and we're really stretching the front of our body, stretching the pecs here, And as you breathe in, you can probably feel your belly pushing into the mat, hopefully. One more breath. And release to the mat. Great job. Bring the palms back under the shoulders. And we're going to make our way back to that tabletop position and begin to work the core. So out of my tabletop position, we'll start doing some work with strengthening the muscles that are so critical for holding an edge on your kayak or doing your roll. We're going to be working the back core. So I'm starting tabletop. Shoulders are stacked over wrists, hips over stacked over knees. I'm going to give you several levels at which you can do this. So listen to your body, challenge yourself in the way that's appropriate. So we're going to begin with a little spinal balance work. I'm going to inhale, right arm forward, left leg back. If that's too challenging, you can always keep that right hand grounded. We inhale as we expand, we exhale as we contract. Try to keep that breath cycle long. Inhale through your nose. Exhale, knee to elbow. 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll try the same thing on the other side. Inhale. Lift till you feel a little resistance, so you're really working that back core. Exhale, knee to elbow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next, we're going to do some hip sweeps. Really good for that hip snap, holding an edge. So I'm going to inhale. I'm just going to open up that hip joint. Bring the right knee to the left elbow on my exhale. Inhale, expand. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if you want to make that a little bit harder, lift that left arm at the same time. Bring the left elbow and right knee together. Open the shoulder and the hip. Inhale. Extend. Exhale, knee to elbow. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then what I'm going to do is kick that left leg off the mat. I'm going to ground my right foot into the back of the mat. Inhale that right arm up and over in an arc. Press through that left palm. Feel that stretch along your right side body. And I'm going to do a little flow here that I saw in a sequence by Anna Levesque, which I think would be great for the sweep roll. I'm going to engage that right leg, bring it up, open my chest to the ceiling, and then inhale, exhale, knee to elbow, hip snap. Inhale, expand, hip snap. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to re-arc here. Arc the body. I'm going to take my right hand back toward that right foot and then bring my left arm up and over for gate pose. Getting a little hamstring stretch there. Maybe you rotate the shoulder. But reach that left arm up and over until you feel a stretch in the left side body. From here, we'll come back to our tabletop. We'll go ahead and try the same thing on the other side. Okay, we'll work the other hip. So I'm going to inhale that left hip open. Exhale, left knee, right elbow. Inhale, expand. Exhale, take it across for 4, 3, 2, 1. If you want to make that harder, we'll engage right arm and left leg. Open those joints and expand. Exhale, contract. 5. 1 more. 1. Then I'm going to kick that right leg off the mat. Bring my left wrist under my right shoulder. Ground that left foot into the end of the mat. Arc that left arm over. Pressing into that right palm. Now we're going to do our little hip snap, sweep roll exercise. I'm going to engage that left leg, lift the left arm, open my chest to the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, hip snap, knee to elbow. Inhale, expand. Exhale, contract. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then I'm going to bring that left foot down. Bring that left hand toward the left foot. Come into my gate pose. Flex that foot. Reach that arm up and over. So I'm stretching the hamstring, stretching that right side body. Maybe I do some arm circles. Check in with the breath. See if you're inhaling through the nose. Keeping that breath cycle long. And back to my tabletop. Okay, from here we're going to come into down dog, one of the most famous poses. So I'm going to inhale. I'm going to actually come into plank first. Inhale, plank. Elbow creases facing forward. I'm going to exhale, hover the knees, and then go into down dog. I'm going to repeat that again. Come into plank. Inhale. Exhale, hover. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, plank. Partial exhale, hover. Full exhale, down dog. Now for down dog, I have my fingers spread, head between my biceps. My weight is evenly distributed in those hands. I'm going to push back, chest toward thighs, trying to flatten those heels toward the mat. I can't get them all the way on the mat. That's fine. And let my head hang heavy. Decompress my neck. Now go ahead and point that right knee under the left arc of your body and try to flatten that left heel to the mat. Switch it out. Point that left knee under the right arc. Flatten that right foot. I feel stretch through my lat on that. And then go ahead and pivot those again. Alternate, flattening one heel at a time. And then we're going to put a little bend in the knees, walk the hands back to meet the feet. We're going to hang in ragdoll. Put a bend in the knees. Grab the elbows with the opposite hands. Nice bend in the knees. And then just swing your torso a little. Great decompressor. Decompress the neck and the upper back. Then I'm going to walk my hands back out. Back into down dog. I'm going to inhale that right leg up. Really working that left leg. Exhale, right knee to right tricep. Arch that back so you're really using core strength here. Inhale, lift. Exhale, knee to nose. Arc. Using that core strength. Inhale it up. Right knee, left tricep. Take it up. Knee to nose. Inhale up. Right knee, right tricep. Take it up. Right foot meets left. Okay, we'll try the same thing with our left leg. Inhale, left leg up, reach, make that right leg work. Exhale, left knee, left tricep as I arc the back. Take it up, knee to nose. Left knee, right tricep. Knee to nose again. Take it up one more time, almost done. Left knee, left tricep. Oop, I lied. Take that leg up one more time. Left foot meets right. Nice job. Now we're going to take some baby steps to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Extend that head forward, really bend the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Bring your hands to your back. Inhale yourself up, flat back. Make those hamstrings do the work. Don't want to round through our lower back. Pedal those legs coming to Tadasana, mountain pose. So we're starting out here in mountain pose. And one of the principles of yoga is described by the Sanskrit term vairagya, non-attachment. So the yogis thought you gave your best effort, and then whatever happens, happens, non-attachment. So we can kind of embody that and loosen up at the same time with some helicopter arms. So visualize yourself letting go of those things that don't serve you. Let go of them, loose hands. As we rotate the torso, loosen up a little bit. We're going to do some crescent poses. Love crescent. There's so much you can do in it. Okay, so we'll come into our mountain pose. So mountain, because we're nice and firm, I'm going to put a little bend in the knees. I'm not going to lock out the knee joints. I'm going to make the muscles do their work. Weights in my heels, toes are light. Palms facing forward. I'm going to draw those shoulder blades together. Keep stretching that chest. Undo everything we do when we're kayaking. Focus on that breath. See if I'm nose breathing. So from our mountain pose, we're going to scoop the earth, come into chair pose. Great pose for working the quads and the core. So my weight is in my heels and my toes are light. You can stay here or exhale to skier's pose as I come up on my toes, work the calves and the quads. Inhale back, the chair pose. Now spread the toes on your left foot. That's your foundation. We're going to step the right foot back. And then we're going to check our foundation. So knee is stacked over ankle. Bring the arms up. Spread the fingers. Shoulders are relaxed. Crescent pose. I like to start the standing poses with crescent because there's a lot you can do in crescent. I'm going to drop that right knee to the earth. You can bring your palms to the earth, or I just like to bring my hands to heart center. I'm going to keep that right knee grounded and bring that left knee forward to get a nice groin stretch there. And then we're going to stretch those ever contracted hamstrings. Couple options. You can use those blocks and simply straighten your front leg. Or if you're a little more flexible, you don't need those blocks, or maybe use books. The other option is actually drop that right knee to the earth, sit back over your right heel, so my toes are bent there, a little toe stretch. I'm going to grab that left foot, flex that foot. I find this one's a little more intense, but it's a little more cumbersome to get into. So do whatever suits you. I prefer doing the first one. All right, then we're going to drop that right knee to the earth. Do a little twist here. I'm going to flatten out that right foot. Plant my right palm to the earth. Take my left arm up. Or if you need a little more intensity, engage that right leg. A little more intensity yet. You can inhale, exhale, thread that left arm under the right as you sink into that left leg. Inhale, expand. Exhale, take it under. Coordinate breath with movement. Keep the breath long. From here, we're going to do a little bind. It's an optional. You could stay here if you want. If you want to do a little quad stretch, reach back for that foot. Now, if you can't reach it, bring the foot to the side and then straighten it back out again. Draw that heel toward you. You'll feel a really good stretch through your quad muscle, your thigh. If you want a little balance challenge and a little more intense stretch, use both hands to draw that heel in. You're also stretching your pecs here, drawing those shoulder blades together. We'll release out of that. Take that left hand to the sky and then bring it back down. Okay. From here, we're going to do a sequence that I really like. It's going to do multiple things. It's going to strengthen the left leg. It's going to stretch the right hip flexor. It's going to open the shoulders up, stretch the shoulders, so it has multiple benefits. There's 2 levels at which you can do it, so you pick what's right for you. I'm going to start with the easy level. Arms by my side, palms facing down. We're going to inhale, arms up, bring them up palm to palm. Exhale, hands to heart center. Interlace those fingers. Inhale the hands out and up. So rotating those shoulder joints internally, and then we're going to release. We're going to do the same thing 2 more times, except if you want, you can engage that back leg, but it's going to make the whole routine way more challenging. Do what's right for you. You want to engage that back leg, curl those toes, inhale, palm to palm, exhale, interlace, inhale out and up, and release. Keep the breath long again. This time we're going to sweep behind, interlace those fingers as we drop that back leg. I'm going to flatten that foot out, create a little back bend here. I'm going to use the friction of the fingers to really stretch the chest. Bringing those shoulder blades together and working on shoulder blade mobility. And then I'm going to engage that leg. You can keep the leg down, your choice. Draw my head forward. And release those fingers. Now I'm going to bring them out front. Bring that right elbow to the left knee. And again, you can do this on the ground. Your choice. Press into those palms. I can feel this a little bit in my shoulder blades. Then I'm going to bring those hands out front. Right foot meets left. Now that's going to be tough there at the end because we've been working that left leg. Exhale, forward fold. Release the tension in that left leg. Maybe shake your torso a little bit. So this has a calming effect. Include a little deep breathing. Really calm yourself down. Now bring your hands to your hips. We're going to inhale ourselves up, flat back. We don't want to round out through the lower back. We're going to use those hamstrings to bring us up. Go ahead and pedal that out. Let's come back into our mountain pose. Little bend in the knees. Drawing those shoulder blades together, working on that, the strength in those rhomboids. Scoop the earth, chair pose. Stay here, come to skiers, your option. Inhale back to chair. Now focus on that right foot. Spread those right toes. We're going to step that left foot back to crescent. Again, alignment's everything, so find your alignment, knee over ankle. Spread those fingers, shoulders are relaxed. Crescent pose. Drop that left knee to the earth. Hands to heart center, or you could bring the hands to the earth. Draw that right knee forward, keeping that left knee grounded. Stretch that groin muscle. From here, we'll come into that hamstring stretch. Use your blocks or books, or not, or bring yourself back over that left heel. Do what's right for you. Okay, we're going to take that left knee to the earth, plant that left palm on the mat, right hand to the sky. Stay here. If you need a little more intensity, curl those toes, take it up. Need a little more intensity still, inhale. Exhale, thread right arm under left. Inhale, expand. Exhale, take it under. You can stay here in this position or do your bind, reaching back. Again, if you can't reach that foot, swing it to the side and then square up. Draw that heel in. Want to challenge your balance. Remove that left hand. Clasp the foot with both hands. Stretch those pecs, drawing the shoulder blades together. Draw the heel in toward you. Okay, we'll release out of that. So we'll do our flow again. Knee is stacked over ankle. Arms by my sides, palms facing in. We'll start with the easier version. Inhale, open that shoulder joint, palm to palm. Exhale, interlace, inhale out and up. Release. 2 more times. Keep that breath long. This time I sweep behind. As I drop that foot, flatten the foot out, a little back bend here. Engage that leg. Release the fingers, arms come out in front. Left elbow to that right knee, palm to palm, pushing into that knee. I feel this right around my shoulder blade area. I take those hands out front, left foot meets right, chair pose, forward fold. Bring the hands to the hips, hinge at the hips, using those hamstrings, keeping that lower back nice and straight. Coming back to Tadasana pose. We'll pedal those legs out, releasing tension in that right leg. Nice job. So at this point, I'm going to show you a little vinyasa flow. So with vinyasa, you do a forward fold. So if that's an issue for you, you can skip that forward fold. So we're going to be going into warrior one out of our vinyasa. So rather than doing that forward fold, what you can do is step that left foot back into warrior one. So foundation is really important. So for warrior one, I want to be able to see that right big toe. So my right knee is not caving in. I can also feel the outside of that back foot, so I'm not caving into that left knee. You can alter the angle of this right knee to make it easier or harder. Okay, you don't want to be all the way here, but the less of an angle you have, the more open the angle, the easier it is, okay? So then I'm going to bring my arms up. I can do a beach ball, arms wide, or pointer mudra, your choice for warrior one. So you can just step back to that. If you want to do the vinyasa, we'll start in our mountain pose. Weights in my heels, toes are light. Bend in the knees, bring those shoulder blades back. Really good for posture. So what you'll find, the beauty of yoga is you'll find that this stuff starts working its way off of the mat and into your life. Okay, So from my mountain pose, I'm going to reach my arms up, tall, tall mountain, maybe do a little back bend here. Then I'm going to put a nice bend in the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift or flat back. Really using those hamstrings here. Reaching that head forward. I got good extension. Exhale, hands to the earth. I'm going to step back to my plank. You can always drop those knees. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this part of the vinyasa. So our plank is not like a push-up plank. My elbow creases are actually facing forward. My arms are shoulder width apart. I'm not in that wide push-up position, okay? So from here, I'll show you the easy version. First, I'm going to inhale in my modified plank. Exhale, put a little bend in the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, flatten the feet, up dog. Exhale, curl the toes, down dog. Harder version, plank. Inhale, exhale, bend in the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. In down dog, I'm going to push into those palms, fingers are spread, head between my biceps, pressing the chest toward the thighs. Head hangs heavy, lengthening through that spine. I'm going to inhale my right leg up. You can stay here or open that hip. Look for the sole of that right foot under the left arm. I'm going to square my hips. Inhale, really work that left leg and the right leg. Exhale, bring that right leg forward. Maybe I can't get it all the way between my hands. No worries. Use that hand. Bring it all the way. Seal off that left foot at 45 degrees. Come up to our warrior one. Check in with your foundation. I can see the right big toe. I can feel the outside of that left foot. Beach ball hands or pointer mudra. Adjust the angle of that knee. Stay here, or if you like, sweep those arms behind, interlace the fingers. Use the friction of those fingers to draw the front of the shoulders apart, shoulder blades together. Stay here. Humble your warrior is the other option. Right shoulder to right knee. Maybe bringing those hands up further to stretch the pecs and the shoulders. I'm going to release the fingers coming into warrior two. So my hip pointers went from here to the side, strong arms parallel to the earth. I can still see that right big toe. Flip the palms up, inhale. Exhale, palm to palm. Inhale, open. Exhale, take it up. Notice I'm straightening my front leg. I'm going to hold in warrior two, flip the back palm down, reach forward and reverse my warrior. Left hand to the back of that left knee. Right arm up and over. From here, I'm going to come into triangle by straightening the front leg. I'm going to exhale, bringing that right hand to a block or the earth, left hand to 12 o'clock. The beauty of these blocks, you can adjust the height, right? So you can make it super high, somewhat high, or the lowest position. You can also bring your hand to the earth or hover. If you want to challenge yourself, look up at that left hand. So we're stretching our hip flexor, our hip snap muscle here. From here, we're going to work the core and come into reverse triangle. Take that left hand to the back of the left knee, right arm up and over. Checking with the breath, doing that nose breathing. Now I'm going to bend that right knee, come into side angle. So options here, right forearm to the thigh, left hand to the sky. Or I can bring that right hand to a block or the earth. While you're in side angle, you have some options. You can bring that left arm up over your head. You can do a bind, interlocking the four fingers, pointer fingers. or just keep that arm up at 12 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to bring that left hand down to meet, the right for dragon pose. Great hip opener here. So options, bring that block in, palms to the block, palms to the earth with knee up or knee down. Or if you need a little more stretch, bring the forearms to the earth with knee down or knee up. Great hip opener. Okay, at this point, we're going to bring our palms to the earth, and then we're going to face the left broad side of our mat. A little prasarita, wide-legged forward fold. You might find if the parallel forward fold is a little too much, maybe this would be a little bit easier. So I'm going to bring my hands to my lower back to make sure I'm keeping it flat. I'm going to inhale myself up, nice flat back. I'm going to walk my eyes along the ceiling, push those hips forward on an inhale. Exhale, hinge at the hips, keeping that lower back straight. And then I'm going to reach for shins or maybe wrap my forefingers around my toes. I find that if I use my biceps, pull myself deeper into the stretch, sometimes I'll feel my vertebra shift. I get a little decompression in the spine. Forward folds also tend to be relaxing. Combine them with a little deep breathing. Got a recipe for relaxing your nervous system. Okay, I'm going to release out of that. Point my toes forward. Bring my palms to the left side of the mat. I'm going to sweep that right leg back for a side plank. Super critical for our hip snap. I'm going to give you a couple options here. You can do a modified side plank if you're new to this. So I have my wrist below my shoulder, modified side plank. You can do a regular side plank like this. I actually prefer to do side planks on my forearms because I feel like I distribute the weight through the forearm. It's a little easier on the shoulder. So you can do a static plank, or I really like to work that hip snap by doing a little flow here. So if you want to do the flow, you're going to inhale, lift that hip. If you need a little more challenge, lift that right leg. Another option, you can thread that right arm under, working on that core strength as we twist. Exhale, drop. I'm going to coordinate breath with movement. That's 5. Inhale. 4. 3. 2. 1. Now I'm going to come to a forearm plank. You can drop your knees if you need to. If you need a little more challenge, lift a leg and breathe deep for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop that foot, lift the other for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to come to my palms and flow through that half vinyasa. So you can put the knees down here, no worries, your choice. Inhale, plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Flatten the feet. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Check in with the breath. Pressing into those palms, release the spine. Head hangs heavy. Inhale that left leg up. Option to open the hip. Look for the sole of that foot. Square the hips. Work those legs, lift on our inhale. Exhale, bring that left foot forward. Seal off the back foot, warrior 1. Check your foundation. Shoulders are relaxed. Stay here or sweep those fingers behind, interlace, expand. Stay here or humble your warrior, left shoulder to left knee. Release those fingers, warrior two, strong arms parallel to the earth. Flip the palms, inhale. Exhale, take it to the sky. Inhale, open. Exhale, take it up. This time we hold. Flip that back palm down, reach forward, inhale. Exhale, reverse your warrior. After your next inhale, straighten that front leg, triangle pose. So I'm going to bring my left hand to the block, to a block, to the earth, or hover. Bring that right hand to 12 o'clock. Maybe you look up if you want to challenge your balance. Stretching that hip snap muscle. Now from here, we're going to reverse our triangle using that core strength. Right hand to the back of the right knee, left hand up and over. From here, we'll bend that left knee, coming into our side angle pose. Got modifications you can do. From here, right hand meets left for dragon pose. Straighten out that back foot so toes are facing the front of the mat. You can do palms to the block. You can do palms to the earth. You can always drop that back knee. Or if you need a little more stretch, you can bring the forearms to the earth with the back knee up or down. Maybe you check in with your breath. Okay, bring your palms to the earth. We're going to face the right broad side of our mat. Toes face in, heels face out. Bring your hands to your lower back. Keep that lower back straight as we inhale ourselves up. Push those hips forward. Feel the stretch in those hip flexors. We're going to take the arms out wide this time. Exhale, hinge at the hips. This time we'll bring our hands to the mat. You can always bend those knees. Right hand halfway between, left hand to the sky. A little twist, inversion twist. You can stay here if you want a little more intensity. Wrap that left arm around your waist. Bring the right hand to the left ankle. Use that right arm to twist a little more toward the ceiling. And we'll go ahead and reverse that. Left hand halfway between, right hand to the sky. Wrap that right arm around the waist, left hand to right ankle. Use that left arm to twist to the ceiling. We'll release out of that. Walk the hands off the mat for hammock pose. Like this pose. It's like a wide base down dog. And just let the head relax. For some reason, I find this to be a really relaxing pose. Decompress the spine, stretching everything. Walk those hands back in. Toes face the front of the mat. We're going to bring our palms to the right side of that left foot. Sweep that left foot back to meet the right for that all-important side plank. So again, we got several versions you can do. So modified side plank, stack shoulder over wrist. If you're new to this, you can also do that full extension side plank, forearm side plank. Try to keep the bottom hip high or flow. If you want to flow, inhale, lift, maybe lift the leg, maybe twist. Keep that breath long. 5, 4, 3, 2, One, we'll come to our forearm plank, knees up or knees down. This time I'm going to flatten my palms to the earth, arms are parallel. I'm going to walk my feet in, little dolphin pose. Then I'm going to come to my palms and straighten the arms, down dog. You can take little baby steps to the front of the mat or float. So if you float, if you hop to the front, try to land lightly. See if you can use that core strength. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. So here, if you want a little more stretch, you can do a little gorilla pose, bringing the palms underneath the feet. Go ahead and release that. Bringing the hands to the hips. Let's try to inhale ourselves up flat back into mountain pose. Nice job. Pedal out those legs. And next we'll do a little balance work. The beauty of balance work is mental focus. Because if you're like me, the balance poses are the hardest and they vary the most day to day. I'm not sure why. Some days they're easy, some days they're hard. But the point is, you have to really focus the mind and coordinate with the body to make them work. The way this translates into kayaking is it helps with mental focus as we're going through that rapid. Put a little bend in the knees. Focus on your left foot, spread the toes. That's your foundation for tree. As we bend the right knee, take that leg out at an angle and bring the sole of the right foot maybe to your calf, maybe to your inner thigh, just not that left knee. So you bring it as high as you want. And then I want you to focus on two things. Focus on the shifting of that left foot and find a drishti, Sanskrit for a focus point. You can make it a little more challenging if you want to take the arms out to the side. Check in with that breath. Take that knee out front, right foot meets left. Pedal that leg out. Spread those right toes, put a bend in that right knee. Left leg comes out at an angle, bring the sole of that left foot to the calf or the inner thigh, just not the knee. So if you're like me, I'm right-handed, my right foot's better for whatever reason. I'm going to focus on the shifting of that right foot, and I'm going to find my drishti, my focus point. Maybe spread my branches. All right, and straighten that knee out, left foot meets right, pedal those legs out. So balance works really nice for focusing the mind, because a lot of yoga poses, especially after you've been doing them a while, you can kind of lose focus and still do them. For me, it's pretty hard to lose focus when I'm doing balance work. Okay, we're going to begin to transition to the mat for our stretch work. So I'm going to start in mountain pose, palms facing forward. Again, we're working those muscles in the upper shoulders, stretching the pecs. We're going to scoop the earth and come into chair pose. Toes are light, weights in my heels. You can exhale in the skiers, coming up on those toes. You want to work the quads and the calves. Inhale back into chair. Exhale on the skiers. Inhale, chair. And go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. Heel toes those feet to the edges of the mat. I'm going to sink down into a little yogi squat here. As we come into the seated postures, I'm going to lengthen the breath and get the benefit of working the stress response. And then I'm going to walk my hands behind me. We're going to come into Dandasana again. Great pose to remember as you're going into your kayak. So I'm going to plant those palms, draw those shoulder blades together, stretch the pecs, engage, flex the feet. All right, we'll relax out of that. I'm going to inhale, reach the arms up. Why? To create length in the spine as I forward fold. Now, this could be an issue for some of you with lower back issues, so maybe you don't do this at all. But anyway, I have limited lower back mobility, so I'm not going to try to bend way over. I'd rather keep that lower back reasonably straight, so I'm not compressing my discs. A little variation of this that you can try if you like is take that left foot to the left corner, bring the sole of the right foot to the left inner thigh, left hand to left hip, inhale, reach, exhale, take that hand to your shin, the bottom of your foot, engage that other hand, try to bring your right knee to the earth, inhale, exhale, forward fold, use your arms to draw yourself deeper into the stretch. You'll feel a stretch in the right leg as well. Go ahead and come out of that. We'll try the same thing on the other side. Right foot to the right corner of the mat. Sole of the left foot to the right inner thigh. Right hand to right hip. Inhale, reach. Bring that forward. Maybe engage both arms and draw yourself into the stretch. Check in with the breath. See if your nose breathing. Lots of benefits to breathing in through your nose. I know it seems real elemental, but it's pretty important. Okay, we'll come back out of that. Stretch both legs forward, come into a reverse plank. So continuing to work that core strength, stretching the pecs. If that's not an option for you, you can do reverse tabletop, a little bit easier. Stacking knees over ankles. So do what's right for you. You can even work a little tricep strength. Put a little bend in the elbows. Then we're going to lower our hips to the earth. Inhale that right knee up. Bring that leg across. Sage twist. You can keep that left leg long or bend it. I'm going to hug the right knee again to create length in the spine before I twist. I'm going to bring my right hand behind me. Inhale, left. Exhale, twist over that right shoulder. Counter twist. Unwind out of that. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Inhale that left leg up. Bring it across. Right leg stays straight or bent. Hug the knee. Left hand gets planted behind to keep that spine nice and upright. Inhale, lift the right arm. Exhale, over that left shoulder. And we'll take it the other way. Unwind those legs. Soles of the feet come together. I'm going to clasp the fingers, bring them under the toes. Inhale. Exhale, push into those inner thighs. Okay. At this point, we're going to do a little core work, core strength. So I'm going to give you several options to do this. So the first option, this is called boat pose, appropriately enough. So you can ground those feet if you like, and just try to hold yourself upright. You're doing a little bit of ab work here, so this would be the least challenging. The other option is you can lift those legs, and we're going to use our paddle motion here. So I'm going to have my vertical paddle here. I'm going to inhale as I take those legs out, kind of hover. Exhale to the other side. Got my box going on. Inhale, hover. Exhale, box. Coordinate breath with movement. Inhale, expand. Exhale. And we'll hold in our hover. Draw those legs up over the head. Rock and roll on the upper back. I'm bring the soles of my feet to the mat, hip width apart. Windshield wiper the legs like we started out doing. Then we'll do a little pigeon on the back. So this is a great pose for stretching the hips. So I'm going to interlace my fingers behind my knee and draw that shin in toward me. You can lift your head if you want to work your abs or lay it on the mat. If this is not intense enough, take that left foot and put it in the crux of your right elbow. Monkey grasp those fingers. Lengthen that breath. We'll release out of that. Try the same thing on the other side. Make it as intense as you need to. Coming out of pigeon on your back, bring those knees to the chest. Take your arms to a T. I'm going to look to that right palm and let my knees fall to the left. Try to keep that right shoulder blade on the mat. Inhale back to neutral. Look to that left palm, let the knees fall to the right. Really a great back stretch. Okay, I'm going to take that left leg long on the mat, draw my right knee into my right shoulder, take that left leg up, take my hand to the outside of that right foot. You could also use a strap here if you wanted to, or a bath towel, or a belt. I'm going to keep my right arm on the earth. All right, right foot meets left. Draw that left knee into the left shoulder. Again, if you want to work the abs, lift the head or rest, lay that head down. I'm going to take that leg straight up, grab the outside with my right hand, or use a strap here, your choice. Put a little bend in that knee, draw it across. Try to keep that left arm against the earth. Okay, left foot meets right. We'll come into a little bridge pose again. So the soles of the feet are on the mat, hip width apart. Great pose for kayakers. I'm going to lift those hips. Maybe interlace those fingers behind, roll to one shoulder, draw the two shoulder blades closer together. Stretch the pecs, work the back core strength, stretch the hip flexors. Lengthen the breath. Bring those hips back to the earth. We'll do a little legs up the wall pose. So these inversions actually trick your body into going into a relaxation because you're increasing your blood pressure here because your blood pressure is measured in your neck. So your body thinks that it needs to relax because the blood pressure is going up. From here, we can come into a little happy baby, grabbing the bottoms of our feet. You can push down on your feet, get a stretch through your hips. Or what I like to do is grip those toes and do a little straddle. Stretch those hamstrings, but there's no downward pressure on the lower back here. So it's a great stretch. Check in with that breath. See if we can keep that breath cycle nice and long, inhaling through the nose, slowing the exhale through the mouth or nose. From here, we come into Shavasana, corpse pose. So some people find this hard to do because they don't like being still and messes with their mind. So the mind's so used to moving and thinking and narrating and chattering. So this is actually good practice for the mind. And you can also, I encourage people to do, just check in with your body, do a little body scan and see if you have any tension left. So we'll start at the feet, let those feet fall out to the sides. Check in with the abs, see if your abs are tight, lengthen the breath. Slowly exhale. Check in with the fingers, relax the fingers. Check in with the jaw, relax the jaw. Forehead, relax the brow. Lengthen the breath. Inhale, belly extends. Ribs rise and expand. Slowly exhale. Belly comes out. Ribs rise and expand. Slowly exhale. And when you're ready, draw the knees into the chest. Take our right arm to the right side, roll to our right, resting our head on that bicep. Using our left hand, we'll bring ourselves up to a seated position. Come to maybe an easy seat or whatever works for you. I'm going to create length in my spine. Maybe reflect on what poses worked well for you. What did you learn? Maybe end with a little gratitude practice. So the science shows that the brain tends to be negatively biased to keep us from repeating bad mistakes. So you can think about good things and you're actually moving that, balancing out that bias. So think about something you'd be grateful for. All those times on the river, sitting around the campfire with your friends. And with a little gratitude. Hands to heart center. So namaste. The light within me acknowledges the light within you. Thanks for joining me in your practice. I hope it benefited you. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. If you have any questions. Namaste, friends. Hope to see you on the river.